Once upon a time, there were two friends. One was the Kahankar, the story maker, and the other, the Ahankar, the story taker. They went to the forest, far, far away, and they sat telling story after story. The food got cold. They did not notice. The days passed. They did not notice. The nights were spent. They did not notice. The rice turned bad. They did not notice. They were deep into their stories. The original self-created couple were Mahadev, literally the god of gods, and his consort Ganga Gauri. They created the universe and the other lesser gods, who were allotted different kingdoms. Everything went on fine until some of the gods ignored Mahadev's invitation to come to his court. Mahadev was very angry, and he submerged the whole universe in water. A few survived the deluge. Those who took shelter in the cave of the tiger, or Vag, were called by the family name Vagat. The Vanguard floated to safety surrounded by Vangis or aubergines. The Kurades were saved by a floating axe, the Kurad. The name Thakare was given to those who stayed put, or Thaka.
The first time I came into contact with any person belonging to this Warli tribe was the 22nd of December 1834. When Dr. Smitten and I, as I noted on the occasion, went out to view the village Umargaon, we found 3 or 4 Warlis who had come down from the jungle with the view of disposing of bamboo which they had cut and procuring some little necessaries which they required. Their hair was black and lank. Their bodies were oiled, and altogether they had a very wild appearance. Their condition is well worthy of being inquired into. In an old book of travels, I find their tribe represented as much addicted to thieving. In the Puranas, they are spoken of as the Kalo Praja, in contradistinction to the common Hindus, who are denominated the Shubra Praja. The wildness of their country and the difficulties and dangers of moving in it are obstacles in the way of research. The knowledge of them, however, might lead to important consequences.
Many years later, Mahadev felt like creating the universe afresh. He salvaged the earth from the mud wasp and recreated the heaven and the earth. He got stones from the mole, seeds from the squirrels and ants. Mahadev and Ganga Gauri set off in opposite directions to sow the seeds all over the earth. Mahadev's task was to create dense forests on hills and valleys. Gauri set out to plant trees and bushes on the plains. One went left and the other right, agreeing to meet when the work was done. It took 12 years for them to return to where they had parted. "Who are you?" Mahadev asked the old woman he met. "I am Gauri," said she. Gauri and Mahadev had grown old and weary. Our work is done. Let's go home, said Mahadev.
I would, as an experimental measure, advocate that the Bombay and Baroda Railway Company be allowed the right to fell all such timber for fuel purposes on payment of a small fee. Its removal would tend much to the opening up of the country for agricultural purposes, and in course of time, as the present dense jungle and undergrowth was cleared away, there can be little doubt that the salubrity of a tract of country, at present renowned as feverish in the extreme, would be much improved.
Once there was a rat with a thorn in his tail. He was looking for some help. He saw a woman with a headload of wood. "Pull out the thorn, oh sister," he said. "Please pull it out." She slit his tail with a sickle to take out the thorn. The sickle slipped, and the tip of his tail broke off. The rat got angry. He demanded, "Give me my tail back or give me your sickle." The rat took the sickle and went on. A rat with a thorn in his tail became a rat with a sickle.
The Marwad Vanis or traders are by far the harshest creditors, ruthlessly selling even the debtors' cooking and drinking vessels. The Maratha traders and Brahmin moneylenders have no chance against the Marwad Vani. In grinding the faces of the poor, he is unrivaled, and all competitors go to the wall.
The rat with the sickle came to a village of basket makers. They were slitting the bamboo with their teeth. "Take my sickle, it will make your work easy." They thanked him for the favor. Soon, the sickle broke. The rat demanded, "Give me my sickle back or give me your baskets." He took their baskets and moved on. A rat with a thorn in his tail became a rat with a few baskets.
Investing their savings in land, these Parsis have in several cases acquired considerable estates. Their profits are almost entirely derived from dealings with men of the dark races, or Kari Paraj. Catering to their passion for strong drink, the Parsi advances them liquor, to be repaid, if the customer is a cultivator, in grain at the time of harvest. If he is a laborer, making him clear off his debts by working in the liquor seller's fields.
The next stop of the rat with the baskets was a village of potters. The potters were carrying clay in their hands. "Take my baskets, they will make your work easy." They thanked him for the favor. They made a number of pots that day. Soon, all the baskets wore out. The rat demanded, "Give me my baskets back or give me your pots." A rat with a thorn in his tail became a rat with many pots.
I have alluded to the readiness of the Warlis to listen to the gospel messages and even to declare that their customs are vain and foolish and worthy of a complete abandonment. They are by no means so systematically, intelligently, and habitually attached to error as the common Hindus, and they are certainly, in appearance, more willing to receive the truth than the majority of the inhabitants of this country. They are consequently not to be overlooked in the general arrangements which may be made for the propagation of Christianity.
In the next village, they were growing vegetables. They were using small utensils to water them. The rat with the pots said, "Take my pots, they will make your work easy." They thanked him for the favor. After a while, the pots broke. The rat demanded, "Give me my pots back or give me your vegetables." The rat with a thorn in his tail became a rat with lots of vegetables.
The Warlis are gradually adopting, consciously or unconsciously, Hindu customs and rituals. There is a vague consciousness in them that they belong to Hindu society. Even at this stage, Warlis can assimilate with the Hindu society, forming a backbone of its lower strata.
Then the rat came to a famine-stricken village of cowherds. The rat with the vegetables said, "Take my vegetables and have a grand feast." After the feast, he said, "Give me my vegetables back or give me your cattle." The rat with a thorn in his tail became a rat with a big bullock.
Lacking basic infrastructure such as water and health services, the tribals in Thane eat roots in the summer. Child mortality is high. Starvation is rampant. Waterborne diseases and death frequent. Ironically, in Bombay, which is barely a few kilometers away, water is available at the turn of a tap. Health facilities are the best in the country, and infant mortality is the lowest. So why don't the poor tribals, numbering over 800,000, take a 1-hour journey and settle in Bombay? No wonder the term tribal connotes backwardness, but also narrow parochialism, refusal to change and conquer new frontiers. In short, a community which withdraws in order to survive.
The rat with a bullock came across an Adivasi farmer. He had only one emaciated bullock. For want of a second bullock, he had tethered his wife to the plough. The rat said, "What a way to plough your field! Take my bullock, it will make your work easy." The farmer thanked him for the favor. After a while, the rat's bullock, who was already famished, died. As in the past, the rat demanded, "Give me my bullock back or give me your wife." The rat got the Adivasi's wife.
Dahanu is a place where over 30 balloon factories are situated. 15 to 20 adults and children work in each of these factories. This work includes mixing rubber with chemicals, coloration of balloons, and testing each balloon with gas. In these unhealthy and noxious conditions, the children, mostly from the impoverished and landless Warli tribes, work for 9 hours a day, 6 days a week. Extreme poverty due to the usurpation of forest land has forced these Warli children into working in these factories. Balloons made by these children of Dahanu are sent to all the major cities of India and abroad.
The rat with a thorn in his tail, the rat with a sickle, the rat with a few baskets, the rat with many pots, the rat with lots of vegetables, the rat with a big bullock, became the rat with the Adivasi's wife.
To a large number of dumb people in the more remote jungle, toddy was homegrown food, but nevertheless a tax was maintained without abatement of such weight as to prohibit the use of licit toddy except on rare occasions. As a natural consequence, the supply of toddy fell off year by year, and in various ways the use of Mauda spirits was encouraged at its expense. In other words, alcohol in the form of a natural beverage, nutritious and wholesome, was swept out, to return as a devil, sevenfold more unclean, in the form of fiery spirits. There is no other government in the world that would treat its working classes as the Bombay Abkari department was allowed to treat the black races between 1879 and 1885.
There once lived a Brahmin and his wife who had only one daughter. They wanted a ghar zawai, a groom who would live with his in-laws and take care of them. They set out with the matchmaker, looking for an Adivasi groom, because Adivasis are known to be hard-working. They found the son of a poor widow, and the marriage was settled. The Adivasi son-in-law promised never to leave his in-laws. Taking this quite literally, he never stepped out of the house. Soon the old Brahmin and his wife began complaining to their daughter about his laziness. She conveyed this to her husband, who replied, "Ask your father to go to the blacksmith and bring me all the tools that a carpenter needs." With all his implements, the Adivasi went to the forest and fashioned a beautiful cupboard. In the meantime, another story was unfolding in the court of Jam, the god of death. Jam told his messengers, Kar and Ver, that the Brahmin's time on earth was up. Kar and Ver, the two messengers, came to summon the Brahmin to Jam's court. The Brahmin was not at home. The son-in-law immediately recognized them as the messengers of Jam. He told them, "The Brahmin is hiding in the forest. I'll take you there." The messengers followed the son-in-law to the forest. Upon reaching there, he showed them the cupboard. He told them that the Brahmin was hiding inside it. When they got in to grab him, he quickly shut the door and locked the cupboard. As there was no sign of his messengers, Jam decided to come down to earth himself to see what had happened. Disguising himself as a liquor vendor, he opened a bar in the village. He began to offer the first peg of booze free. This made his bar very popular, giving him an opportunity to eavesdrop on many drunken conversations. The Adivasi and his father-in-law decided to go there for a free drink. After a few drinks, the two began to quarrel. The son-in-law spilled the secret about the cupboard. Jam, the liquor vendor, was all ears. He pretended to disbelieve the story. When, at last, the son-in-law took him to the forest, Jam opened the cupboard. Kar and Ver were freed. Jam told them, "Let's take the spirit of this young man. He seems to be cleverer than the Brahmin." And that's how Jam, the liquor vendor, brought death to the Adivasi.
या गोष्टीवर म्हणजे हे दारू सुरुवात कुठून झाली म्हणून याच्यामध्ये विषय वाटतो म्हणून मी काढतो. म्हणजे पहिली दारू नव्हती तर हे देवाने सुरुवात केली, यमदेवाने. तेव्हापासून दारूची सुरुवात झाली. काय आता मला वाटलं काही गोष्ट चांगली आहे याची काढली पाहिजे, हे काढतो. आणि सुरुवात मी एकदम लहानपासून माझी स्वतःची आई सवासीन होती. मग तिचे बघून बघून मी जंगलात जायचा गाई चारा, कोळीचे चिकाणे तसे दगडावरती काढून काढून अशी करून आदत पडली. बायकापासून सुरुवातीला बायकाच काढत, लग्नामध्ये काढत.
तू वाडघेना ये चौक लिहाय कोणा पाशी शिकली? लग्नाचं चौक लिहायचं ते
बाई चौक तर कोणा पाशी शिकसी शिकसी कोणा पाशी नाही शिकेल काय तर आपण्यात आहे बारीक. आता आई बापा शेतावर जात ना, आता ती बारीक हा मुला बारीक आम्ही अशी राहते काय नाही असे धुलीवर
हा
ढोल करून असे काय धुलीवर असा 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 धुलीवर केला आता पहिला
हा
तसा करता 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 मग कुडावर करून हेरला
हा
कुड आई दादू धरून होते ना ने कुडावर करता करता ती मग ती लग्नाला मग वहारज
हा
मी सा मला नाही करता येत कशी तू चित्र तर काढस ना काय नाही करशी करवर ती काय नाही करायचं
हा
तसा करता मग लग्नाला वहार तर लग्नाला जाई
चौकात हिमाय देवी काढत ना
काढत
फणी ना काय काय असं काय काय करत ते
ते फणी करत ते दिस करत
हा
असे करत
हा
चौकात
हा
पण ते काय कुडावर ते कुडावर
हा
करत फणी करायची दिस करत लिसन करत
हा
असे करत करायचा ते
ना एक देव पण करत ना ते देवाचं नाव काय ते चौकात देव करत तर
बाई देवाचं नाव नाही देव तर करत
हा
हां देव करत पण ते देवाचं नाव काय ती नाव नाही
हा
ते सरवून सरे करून ठेवू खरे
हा
आम्ही
हा
करात लागत
देवचं उकरा लागलं ना
देवचं उक्त करात लाग
तू फक्त कुडावरच लिहस काय कागदावर लिहत का नाही
कागदावर हो लिहत होती
कागदावर
हं,
लिहत
ही
होती?
आता यो माझा पोर करत कागदावर असे कागदावर कोडक लिहेल
अशी पण करत
हं,
होती
अशी पण कर
ते लग्नासाठी ठेवत काय
नाही
कुठं
ते
तरी विका
पाठवलं तिथं
पाठवलं
हां,
कुठं पाठवलं
तो काय विश्वास त्याची पडून दिधेल हो
हा
ये ना तो आमच्या घरी येत
कुठचा
होता
होता
पहल्ला भास्कर पण तो भास्कर तो विश्वास चा काखास ना हं? त्याची येत होती तर लिहून ना मग घेऊन सगाय कोठं घेऊन जात
पैसे मिळत तुला
पैसे
त्याचे?
मिळत
पैसे
हं, पैसे मिळत दिजत पैसे कागदांचं
हम्म.
With its proximity to Bombay and the demand for folk art by commercial institutions, the Warli area is likely to be infiltrated by an increasing number of people out to make easy money. The resulting deterioration in the art of the people at their own place is perhaps the most insidious effect of commercialization. The biggest casualty of this trend will be the introduction of naturalistic forms for those which symbolically represented many realities at the same time.
माल्हाडहून आला विश्वास कुलकर्णी त्याने काय पेकिंग पेपर होता ना त्याच्यावरती मला काढा सांगितलं तुम्ही एक चौक लिहून दिला दुसऱ्या फेरी आला तर तुम्हाला लगेच घेऊनच गेला तिकडे तिथे मी 6 वर्ष काढले पेंटिंगचं काम माझे बरोबर मी रायतलीचे नेले इकडचं दुसरे पोर नेले तर ते शिकलेत आता काढत आहात ते पण पेंटिंग मी तलासरीला नेऊन देतो ना तिथून जर्मनीला पाठवल्या जातात मुंबईमध्ये पण कोणी बाहेरून दिल्लीच्या कोण्याला तो घेऊन जाते मध्ये गेल्या साली अमेरिकन एक बाई आली होती ती 2 घेऊन गेली असे जातात गावामध्ये असा उन्हाळ्याच्या टायमाला थाला लावत तिथे ऐका मिळते नाही तर असे करमणूक करतात ना मोकळा टाइम मिळाला काय असे जेवले काय रात्रीचे बसून स्टोरी सांगतात आता लहान पोराला आई वडील कोणीच तरी सांगून दाखवणं ते ऐकून ना मग त्याच्यावर कल्पना काढून ना मी चित्र काढतो
It is unnecessary for me to expatiate on the jungle dwellers' terrible ignorance in matters medical, agricultural, financial, and social. I consider that each taluka and petha in these areas should be provided with a permanent touring unit. The organizer in charge should be provided with medicines and with a gramophone and magic lantern, and equipped with material that will provide entertainment as well as instruction. Anything in the nature of a tirade of unctuous advice must be avoided.
Once upon a time, there lived a couple. The man would go to the fields in the morning. His wife would finish the domestic chores, like pounding the grain, bathing and feeding the children, cooking, fetching water, and washing up. She would then pack lunch for her husband and go to the fields to join him for work. Her husband had a habit of complaining that she was always late with his lunch. Fed up with his complaints, she asked him to switch roles with her just for a day. He agreed. Early next morning, she ground the corn and fed the baby. She then went to the fields with the baby. By the time her husband finished the remaining chores, it was really late. Hurriedly, he snatched up a piece of cloth, which he made into a roll to support his head load of lunch. Piling the vessels on top of his headgear, he set off. On the way, he met several people who started giggling as he passed. He was wondering what was wrong. Finally, he met an old woman. She asked him, "Son, what are you carrying on your head?" "Bhakris for lunch," he said. "And below that?" asked the woman. "Lentils," came the reply. "And below that?" "My headgear," replied the man. "And below that?" Looking down at himself, he realized with shock that he was stark naked. In his hurry, he had pulled off his loincloth and used it as his headgear. By the time he reached the fields, his wife looked at him and silently pointed to the horizon, to the setting sun.
Among the Adivasis generally, the women are more hardworking. They work as equals with the men in the fields and forest, in addition to doing all the household work. Tomorrow is always a big question mark, and there is no limit to the hard work that they must do. And yet, these Adivasi women steal a little pleasure from life and laugh freely. They must truly stand as an ideal to us.
लागली वाढली झाली पुरी गे बाई लागली गण माया.
Once upon a time, there lived a lazy man. He would spend all his time listening to the storyteller. The storyteller kept on telling stories about women. The essence of every story was that men had to be wary of women's ways. After all, women had umpteen different ploys to hoodwink men. He would use the phrase "36 nakhre," which meant women's 36 ploys. Every day, the man would return from the storyteller and beat up his wife. He would demand to see her 36 ploys. His wife bore the beating for a while. She tried to stop her husband from going to the storyteller, but in vain. One day, she decided to teach her fool of a husband a good lesson. It was the rainy season. Everyone was busy in the fields. There was no storytelling, and the wife had a respite from her husband. She began thinking of ways to make this peace last. Their rice field was on the slopes of a hill. Every morning, the husband would go there with the bullocks. The wife would finish all the housework and take his lunch to the field. One day, at the foot of the hill, she saw some fish in a field. She caught a lot of them, put them in her water pot, and went on to their field on the hill. When her husband was busy, she quietly let the fish out. She told her husband, "Look what we have in our field today." He was amazed to find fish in such an unlikely location. They literally picked up all the fish. The man wanted to celebrate the occasion. He told his wife to go home early and cook the fish, and he himself went to pick up a bottle of booze. In the meantime, the woman cooked the fish and hid it in the loft. The husband returned in high spirits with the booze and asked for the fish. She pretended to be surprised. He was very angry. He started beating her, accusing her of polishing off the fish. She ran out, weeping and screaming for help. All the neighbors gathered. At first, all the men took the husband's side. The husband narrated how they had found the fish in his field. It was obvious that fish are never found in high-lying fields. The villagers were convinced that the man was drunk and gave him a sound thrashing. When they were alone again, the wife produced the fish from the loft. She told him, "Today you have seen one of my ploys, one of my 36 nakharas. Now behave yourself. I have 35 more."
A witch or a bhutali is a woman who has acquired special evil powers by which she can do harm to others. A bhagat, priest cum medicine man, is the greatest enemy of a bhutali, for he alone can undo what the bhutali has done. The tension between man and woman for power, as reflected in the struggle between bhutali and bhagat for domination, and the establishment of the bhagat as the symbol of the good, the more powerful, appears in the Kansari song of the Warlis. It depicts the ceaseless conflict between the dark, naked goddess Kansari and the gods.
Mirig, the god of the clouds, was known as the wandering god, the Bhamta Dev. His consort Kansari was the stable one, who looked after the fields. One day, Mirig told Kansari that he would help her with the sowing and planting. At the onset of the monsoons, both of them sowed the fields together. Soon the seedlings sprouted. Mirig told Kansari, "Let us divide the seedlings into 2 equal halves. You take half the land, and I will look after the other half." Kansari warned him that he would not be able to manage. But he insisted, and Kansari finally yielded. Mirig cut each seedling into 2 halves. He made 2 separate piles, one of the beautiful green shoots, and the other of all the brown muddy roots. Leaving the roots for Kansari, he took the shoots for himself and planted them in his plots. He was proud to see the green shoots swaying and rustling in the breeze. "I'm sure to have a rich harvest," he said, and off he went on his jaunts. Kansari planted the roots and waited for the new shoots to sprout. When harvest time came around, the rice stalks in Kansari's field were heavy with grain, while Mirig's fields had long dried up. When Mirig came back, he was very upset to see his fields bare, while Kansari's were rich with grain. He got into a terrible rage and said, "Surely Kansari is a witch. She must have cast a spell on my beautiful green fields. She had only the wretched roots, and yet she got a good crop." And that's how the first witch was born. Once upon a time, there were 2 friends. One was the Kahankar, the story maker, and the other, the Ahankar, the story taker. They went to the forest far, far away, and they sat telling story after story. The food got cold, they did not notice. The days passed, they did not notice. The nights were spent, they did not notice. The rice turned bad, they did not notice. They were deep into their stories. They died in the forest of hunger. Then came some passers-by. "Who are these that died?" "Strangers from afar," they said. And they took them to their village and buried them. When Kahankar and Ahankar were missing for long, their wives set out to look for them. Searching through the forest, they came upon a burial place. They asked the people in the village, "Oh, Patil, tell us, are these our men?" "We found them dead, food uneaten," said the Patil. We buried them together under the ground. Their bones were dug up. Which is the maker of stories and which the taker, O Patil? Asked the women. Nobody knew. So the women took the bones in a sack to a pond. They immersed the bones in the water. The Kahankar, the maker of stories who emptied himself out, his bones were light. The light bones floated. The Ahankar, the taker who absorbed the stories, his bones were heavy. The heavy bones sank. Take home your husband's bones. You know now who is who. Light and heavy, maker and taker, Kahankar and Ahankar.
Jabala Pavai Shivata